Look at that. Where's my plate? Oh my gosh. Hey everyone, I'm Sav and this is Lagom Eats. Today we're going to be making a pumpkin cornbread with a jalapeno infused maple butter. This is the perfect side dish to any hearty stew or even your Thanksgiving table. Let's take a look at the ingredients. For the cornbread, we're going to need 1 cup of pureed pumpkin, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, half a cup of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 cup of buttermilk, 1.5 cups of cornmeal, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 2 eggs, and 1 tablespoon of butter. For the maple butter, we're gonna need 1/4 cup of maple syrup, half a cup of butter, half a jalapeno, and a pinch of sea salt. Let's get baking. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna preheat our oven to 400 degrees. We're gonna use like an 8 or 9 inch cast iron skillet for this, or you can use like an 8x8 baking dish. So we'll put this in the oven so it can heat up, and then when we put in our cornbread batter, it's gonna create a nice crispiness to the bottom of it. We're gonna start by mixing our dry ingredients. So we'll put in half a cup of all-purpose flour. We wanna use the spoon and level technique as well with this, otherwise we're gonna get too much flour and create a dense cornbread, which obviously we don't want. All right, we'll put in our cornmeal, and we're using 1.5 cups of this. And again, same way, we're gonna spoon it out and then level it with the back of the knife. Now we'll add in our baking powder. We're using a tablespoon of this. You can scoop this one out, but make sure you level it off. We'll do half a teaspoon of our baking soda. And then 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. All right, we'll go ahead and mix that together a bit. Let's mix up our wet ingredients. We need 1 cup of this buttermilk. And you wanna make sure that all your ingredients are at room temperature. This allows everything to mix quicker and easier so we don't overmix our batter and create a dry and dense cornbread. So we need 1 cup of our pumpkin. I'm using canned pumpkin. You can use fresh pumpkin if you want. You just wanna roast it for about probably 1.5 hours at 425 degrees, and then strain it out, mash it up, and measure out 1 cup of it. I'm doing it the lazy way though, but it's still delicious. And this is what's gonna make this cornbread super moist. Okay, put that in there. We'll add in our eggs. We're gonna be using 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Now, this cornbread is not super sweet. This is not your typical overly sweet cornbread. It's more savory. However, we are gonna put on that maple butter. So that is gonna be a bit of the sweetness there. But if you like a sweet cornbread, you can add more maple syrup, or you can add in some brown sugar as well. And we'll put in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. All right, let's go ahead and just mix all of this. You can't overmix it at this point, so make sure you get it all nice and incorporated. Something else you could add here, you could add in some cinnamon and cloves. A lot of people, when they think pumpkin, they actually think like pumpkin spice. They think of something really sweet and kind of, has those spices like cinnamon and cloves. So if that's the kind of cornbread you're looking for, then add in some of that cinnamon and cloves. This has just a very subtle taste of actual real pumpkin, and like I said, not super sweet. All right, so now we'll just mix in our wet ingredients into our dry ingredients. Splash. All right, we'll just do kind of half at a time. All right, we'll pour the rest in. together. And at this point, we don't want to overmix it, just right up until everything is mixed together. Otherwise, we're gonna build up the gluten, and that will create that dense and dry cornbread like I was talking about. All right, our oven is preheated to 400 degrees. This is super hot. We're gonna put in our tablespoon of butter, and we just, oh, hear that sizzle? It is hot. And we'll just brush that around, get it nice and coated in the butter. And actually, any of the kind of excess butter, just make sure the pan is coated, but we're going to just pour it into our cornbread. We'll give this a little mix. And then we're gonna dump in our batter. Now we're gonna put this back in the oven at 400 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes. All right, so now we're going to start our jalapeno infused maple butter. We'll need half a jalapeno, and it's up to you if you want to leave the seeds in or take them out. Obviously, if the seeds are in, you're gonna have more of a spicy maple butter. It's kind of like if you've ever had Mike's Hot Honey, it's really popular to pour in cornbread. It's kind of a similar version except for maple syrup. It's absolutely delicious. If you don't like the spice but love the jalapeno flavor, take out the seeds and it will have that jalapeno flavor but not be spicy. All right, so we're gonna need about a 1/4 cup of maple syrup for this. And the way we infuse it is over the stove top. So we'll just pour it into a little pot. We'll turn on our stove to just like medium low. And we're going to throw in our jalapeno in there to infuse in the maple syrup. We want to bring it up to kind of a simmer so it's kind of bubbling around the jalapeno. Our maple syrup is simmering. We'll let it simmer for about 10 minutes so that jalapeno flavor can really infuse into the syrup. After, we'll take out the jalapeno, and there may be a few seeds that come out as well. I'll take those out. You can either discard the jalapeno, or if you like jalapeno in your cornbread, actually, before you bake it, of course, you could chop it up and put it in the cornbread. I don't really like chunks of jalapeno in my cornbread, so I don't do that, but I know a lot of people do, so that is one option for you as well. Our jalapeno maple syrup has cooled, so now we're going to make our butter. We'll pour in that maple syrup into our bowl. We're gonna dump our butter in there as well. Make sure your butter is room temperature, otherwise it's gonna be impossible to incorporate the maple syrup. All right, and we'll just turn on our stand mixer and whip it up. Get it all mixed in there. We're gonna add a pinch of sea salt as well. Mix that in there. All right, so our jalapeno maple butter is done. So we're just gonna put it into a little bowl and save for when our cornbread is ready. You probably wanna keep this at room temperature because otherwise it's gonna be really difficult to spread. Our cornbread took 35 minutes in the oven. We let it cool for about 15 to 20 minutes, which was really hard because it smells incredible and I just wanna dig into it. So it's ready to cut. Feel that crispy crust on the bottom. Oh, guys, it smells so good. It looks so moist in the middle. You can't forget about this jalapeno maple butter. Slather a ton of this on. Oh yum, it's like melting onto it. Oh my gosh. All right, let's take a bite of this. The cornbread is super moist from the pumpkin. It's not super sweet, but then you get a hint of sweetness from the maple and the butter, and then you taste a little bit of that spice from the jalapeno. It's like the perfect balance of sweet, spicy, and savory. One of my family traditions is we always have chili and cornbread on Halloween. And this year I will definitely be making this pumpkin cornbread. I hope you guys enjoyed my pumpkin cornbread with jalapeno infused maple butter. The full recipe can be found on my food blog at logofmeats.com. I've got new delicious dishes coming out every week, so hit a like and subscribe below. I'll see you guys next time. Hey-do!